machine for a given language. So our task is design a Turing machine which recognizes the language L equal to 0 power n 1 power n. That means we have to design a Turing machine which accepts this kind of language where the number of zeros should be exactly equal to the number of ones that follows. That means if you have n number of zeros, then you should exactly have n number of ones that follows those zeros. And if you remember, we have talked about this example even in our previous lectures when we discussed about finite state machines, and we saw that we could not design this using finite state machines. Why? Because we need to keep a count of how many zeros are there in order to repeat the exact same number of ones so that we can achieve this language. But we saw that finite state machines, due to their limited memory and due to their limited capability, it was not possible to design this language using a finite state machine, and hence we said that this is not a regular language. This particular language is not a regular language. So we shall see in this example, using a Turing machine, how can we design this language. So first of all, I will explain to you the example. So X, so design the Turing.
There is a hadith that says if there is rain without monsoon, then Allah is upset. Something maybe I've done something wrong. So I'm gonna study now because it makes me feel less regrettive. आज मुझे अब्बू अब्बू से बहुत मन कर रहा है। अब्बू उठेगा ना जब, मैं अब्बू जी के साथ साथ में चाय पीऊंगा।
Turing machine for this using the transition diagram of the Turing machine. So here I have the Turing machine which is going to perform exactly the same task that was written in our algorithm that we just saw before. Now let's see. Here we have the starting state which is A, and then we have states B, C and D, and we have the accept state. Now if you see, there is no reject state that is mentioned over here, and it doesn't mean that there is no reject state. It means that whenever there is a missing edge for any transition, that will implicitly go to the reject state. So it is just that we have not specified it separately, but there is a reject state. And where is a reject state? Any edge that has a missing transition, that will go to the reject state. Alright, we already said that Turing machines, they are deterministic. The ones we are designing, they are deterministic. So in determinism, what is it? You need to have a transition for every input for every state. And in Turing machine, you also have to consider the blank symbol. So if you see that in state A, it has transition for 0, it has transition for Y, and it has transition for the blank. But we see that it is not having transition for 1, the symbol 1. So if you get a 1 in state A, that means it goes to the reject state. And that is true because in the kind of language that we are going to design, we want zeros followed by ones, not ones before zeros. Okay, so that was just an information. Now let's see how this works. So we are in the starting state, and in the starting state, we get the first 0. So when you get the first 0, what you do, you replace it with X and you move right. So here is my tape head. I replace this 0 with X and I move to the right. And now I am in state B. And in state B, what happens is that, what is the next step as I told you? From here, you have to go to the right searching for the first one. So you have to reach till here, and state B will help you do that. So in state B, what happens? Whether you encounter a 0 or Y, whatever it is, we are not going to replace them with anything different, but we are going to write the same thing. So that basically means that you are not replacing anything. Alright, and then you just keep moving right. So if you are getting zeros, replace it with 0 itself and move right. So 0, 0, 0, and then here I encounter my first one. So when I encounter my first one, what happens? I have to replace that one with a Y, and then I have to move left. So I have to replace this with Y, and then I have to move left. So my tape head was here, so it will come over here now. And then in state C, this state C will help you to go back until you find the leftmost 0. So in the algorithm, I already showed you, after you reach here, you have to move left until you find the leftmost 0. So this state C will take you left without replacing anything different. That means if you see a 0, you write a 0. If you see a Y, you write a Y. So basically it means you are not replacing anything, and you just keep moving left. So I keep moving left like this, and till when do I move left? Till I encounter an X. So I move from here to here, and I come here, and when I reach here, I encounter an X. This is not 0 anymore, this is an X. Now when you encounter an X, you understand that following that you will have the leftmost 0. So what happens when you reach this X, you move one step to the right. So after reaching this, I move here and my tape head is over here right now. And then what happens? You come to state A, and then in state A, if you see 0 again, this whole process will continue. And yes, I am seeing a 0, so the whole process has to continue. So this will be replaced with X, and then we move right, and this will be replaced with Y, and then again we move left, replacing this with x, and then we move right, replacing this 1 with y, and then we move left, replacing this with x, and then we move right, replacing this with y. Okay, now let us say we reach this condition. After coming to state C, we reach this x over here, and then we move one step to the right, so my tape head is over here now, and what happens? I encounter a y. So I'm encountering a y here, and what happens? I am not replacing that y, I am just putting y itself, and then I move right, and then I move right. And then what happens? State D will help you to move right again and again. So this state D will help you move right by replacing y with itself. That means basically not replacing anything. So we move placing y. You
Time to study something difficult.
given you the theoretical explanation of minimization of DFA, and we also learned why is minimization of DFA required. So in this lecture we will be trying to understand practically about minimization of DFA using an example. Alright, so here we have an example DFA in which I have 5 states A, B, C, D, E. So our task is to minimize this DFA. That is, I want to design another DFA which performs the same kind of task, but I want to use the minimum number of states possible. So here I have 5 states, and now I want to try to design it using lesser number of states. So let's see how we can do this. So the first step in doing this is to draw the state transition table for this DFA. So here I have drawn the state transition table for this DFA. We have 5 states A, B, C, D and E, and A is the starting state or the initial state, and E is the final state. And on getting inputs 0 and 1, these are where these states go to. Now we have to perform the minimization of this DFA. So in order to do that, how we have to start is we have to start with the 0 equivalence, then we'll go to 1 equivalence, 2 equivalence, and so on. So the first step is to write down the 0 equivalence. So how do we write the 0 equivalence? In order to write down the 0 equivalence,
Never ever write down time. Boy, चुप कर रहे. अब्बू. यार मेरे पापा को बहुत प्रॉब्लम है गुस्सा करने की। उनको समझ नहीं आता कि चीज़ें हमेशा लास्ट नहीं करती। सोच इसी वजह से मैं उनसे कभी एग्री करता हूँ, बट इन चीज़ों में मैं कभी नहीं करता कि इंसान अल्लाह को चैलेंज नहीं कर सकता ना। ऊपर वाले ने अगर बरसात की है तो फूल वूल तो जाएंगे ही। कोई भी चीज़ नहीं बरसा, नुकसान से नहीं बचा सकते आप। अल्लाह के आगे नहीं चलती किसी की, लेकिन घमंड होगा तो फिर अल्लाह से पंगा नहीं लेना चाहिए।
It's very simple. You have to just write the non-final states together as one set, and you have to write the final states as another set. So here what are my non-final states?
सारी पढ़ाई खराब कर दी यार। नजर लगाने जब अपना बाप आएगा फिर तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा
A,
ना भाई। गालियां दे रहा है, कुछ दे रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों ऐसे कर रहा है। मगर ये मजदूर इतने घटिया है ना यार, बेवकूफ है ना। यहाँ पे जो मजदूरी करने हैं, इतने वाहियात मजदूर भेजे हैं ना। मैं इसीलिए बोलता हूँ, अगर इंसान अच्छा नहीं होगा ना, वो काम उसका काम खराब ही होना चाहिए। तब तक उसको समझ नहीं आएगा कि वो इंसान कैसा है।
in the last lecture, I have
वो
given you
हारेगा
the
नहीं ना, उसके काम
theoretical
में घाटा
explanation
नहीं होगा ना, बदतमीजी करके, हराम करके, दूसरों से बदतमीजी करके, तो वो हारना ही चाहिए। मेरा ये मानना है। मेरी इस बात में, अगर मैं किसी चीज़ में बदतमीज हो जाऊँ, ज़रूर लालची हो जाऊँ, मतलब हराम का करने लगूँ, हरामियों की तरह पेश आऊँ, तो फिर उस काम में हारना बहुत बहुत ज़रूरी है। क्योंकि अगर वहाँ जीत गए ना, फिर ज़िंदगी भर हराम ही रहेगा, पता ही नहीं चलेगा। जिन लोगों को महसूस होता है, जिनमें अक्ल है, इसीलिए एजुकेशन की इम्पोर्टेंस देखी। ये मजदूर है, इनके पास दिमाग नहीं है। ये इंसान और जानवर में कोई फ़र्क ही नहीं होता है फिर, अगर मजदूरी करेगा। इसलिए एजुकेशन को कोसिए मत। एजुकेशन नहीं होगा ना, लोग जानवर बन जाएंगे।
of minimization of DFA, and we also learned why is minimization of DFA required. So in this lecture, we will be trying to understand practically about minimization of DFA using an example. Alright, so here we have an example DFA in which I have 5 states A, B, C, D, E. So our task is to minimize this DFA. That is, I want to design another DFA which performs the same kind of task, but I want to use the minimum number of states possible. So here I have 5 states, and now I want
मैं
to
क्यों इस
try to
घर में
design
आया
it
यार?
using lesser number of
नहीं नहीं,
states.
ऐसा नहीं
So let's
पढ़ेंगे।
see
अब
how
हम
we can do
पढ़ेंगे ना,
this.
मूड खुद ब खुद
So the
रिफ्रेश
first
हो
step,
जाएगा। मार्क माय वर्ड्स। जब भी बंदा पढ़ता है ना, उसका मूड खुद ब खुद रिफ्रेश हो जाता है, क्योंकि बद्दुआ देने वाले लोग आपको समझ जाएंगे। आपको पता चल जाता है कि यहाँ सब बद्दुआ दे रहे हैं, तो फिर आपको पढ़ाई से लगेगा वो लोग भी दुआ देने लगते हैं। लेकिन ये बात है कि आपको पता चल जाता है कि आपकी परवाह आपसे ज़्यादा कोई नहीं कर सकता। पॉसिबल नहीं है। माँ बाप कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर माँ बाप की अपनी तकलीफ़ें, मेंटली ठीक नहीं है वो। अगर इंसान अच्छे हैं ना, तो आज नहीं तो कल बंदा सीख जाएगा। अगर इंसान अच्छा है ना, तो फिर आज नहीं तो कल वो सीख जाता है। सक्सेस और मतलब हर चीज़ हमेशा नहीं लास्ट करेगी ना। मेरा भी आज कुछ था दिल करने का, बट मुझे रियलाइज़ हुआ वो हराम है जो मैं कर रहा हूँ। मैं किसी का, उसके लिए मुझे किसी को धोखा देना था, और जिसको धोखा देना था वो बदले में कुछ कर नहीं पाया, लेकिन मैंने उसको धोखा ही नहीं दिया। मैंने कहा उस मेरे को चाहिए ही नहीं वो। उससे अच्छा गार्ड करो सिंपल चीज़ों को यार। नहीं, किसी का गार्ड
in the
आता
last
मेरी वजह
lecture,
से कभी।
I have given you the theoretical explanation of minimization of DFA, and we also learned why is minimization of DFA required. So in this lecture, we will be trying to understand practically about minimization of DFA using an example. Alright, so here we have an example DFA in which I have 5 states A, B, C, D, E. So our task is to minimize this DFA. That is, I want to design another DFA which performs the same kind of task, but I want to use the minimum number of states possible. So here I have 5 states, and now I want to try to design it using lesser number of states. So let's see how we can do this. So the first step in doing this is to draw the state transition table for this DFA. So here I have drawn the state transition table for this DFA. We have 5 states A, B, C, D and E, and A is the starting state or the initial state and E is the final state. And on getting inputs 0 and 1, these are where these states go to. Now we have to perform the minimization of this DFA. So in order to do that, how we have to start is we have to start with the 0 equivalence, then we'll go to 1 equivalence, 2 equivalence and so on. So the first step is to write down the 0 equivalence. So how do we write the 0 equivalence? In order to write down the 0 equivalence, it's very simple. You have to just write the non-final states together as one set, and you have to write the final states as another set. So here what are my non-final states? A, B, C and D. So I will make this as one set. A, B, C and D. And what are my final states? Here I have only one final state, that is E. So this is the first step of writing the 0 equivalence. So it is very easy to write the 0 equivalence. Just write the non-final states as one set and the final states as another set. Okay, so that's it about 0 equivalence. Now let's come to 1 equivalence. 1 equivalence. Now how do we write this 1 equivalence? For writing the 1 equivalence, you have to look at this row of 0 equivalence, and you see that these 4 states are in one set. Now you have to check if these states are 1 equivalent to each other. So first we will check for AB, then we will continue. So how do we do that? Suppose you are checking for AB, you have to check in the transition table where does A and B go on getting input 0 and 1. And if you see that the states to which A and B goes on getting particular inputs 0 and 1, if they fall in the same set, if those states fall in the same set as this, in this 0 equivalence row, then they are said to be 1 equivalent to each other. Alright, that may seem a little difficult to understand, but it will become very easy to understand when I show it here with example. So now I am going to check if A and B are 1 equivalent to each other. Let me check for A and B. So in order to check for A and B, I come to this table and see A and B, where does it go on getting input 0 and 1? A on getting input 0, it goes to B. B also on getting input 0, it goes to B. So if they go to the same states, then it is okay. Alright, they are 1 equivalent. But the condition is not complete, you have to check for 1 also. So A on getting input 1, where does it go? It goes to C. And B on getting input 1, where does it go? It goes to D. So C and D. So now you have to come to this row and check if C and D fall in the same set or not. So we see that here C and D, they belong to this same set. So A and B are 1 equivalent. So I will put them together in one set in this 1 equivalent row A, B. Okay. Now the next one I have to check is for C. So we know that A and B are 1 equivalent to each other. We found here already that A and B are 1 equivalent to each other. So you can check C with either A or B, because we know that this A and B are already 1 equivalent. So you can check C with either A or B. So let me check it with A. I'll check A and C. So come to this table, A and C. A and C. On getting input 0, where does A go? It goes to B. And getting input 0, where does C go? It also goes to B. So they go to the same states. So that is okay. Now let's check for 1. A on getting input 1, it goes to C. And C also on getting input 1, it goes to C. So that is also same. So whenever it is going to the same states, you don't have to worry. You just confirm that they are equivalent to each other. So C is also 1 equivalent to both A and B. Okay. Now the next one I have to check is for D. Now I can check D with either A, B or C, because we already found that A, B, C are 1 equivalent to each other. So let me check D with C. You can check with A or B also, it's okay, but let me check with C. So C and D. Come to this table, C and D. C and D on getting input 0, where does it go? It goes to D, B. So both are same, it's fine. Now on getting input 1, where does C and D go? C goes to C and D goes to E. C and E. Now check if C and E fall in the same set or not in here. We see that C belongs to this set, but E belongs to another set. So C and E does not belong to the same set. So C and D are not one equivalent to each other. So D is not one equivalent to C. So if it is not one equivalent to C, it will not be equivalent to B nor to A. Right? So I have to.
Guys, right now I'm in such a like I'm feeling like I need medical attention right now because it's raining and my favorite trouser got, I think it's trash now. It used to be my favorite trouser, but to make my father feel better, I got it in the trash, and I don't regret it. But I know that I've been doing this for a long time, like being there for my dad when he feels bad. Maybe I have to work harder. I should not focus on these things.
Close this and make a separate set for D now.
बकवास जिंदगी है मजदूरी की. That's why I say, guys, don't stop appreciating books. Sports is very, very, very nice, but it can kill your feelings sometimes. Not sports, but I'm talking about those small things, man, that those carpenters and all that. Look at how much painful it is for I feel bad for the ones who do that, because some of them deserved education, some of them are so nice and logical. I feel bad when I see them like life treating them so bad. So I'll not.
Okay, now we are done with one equivalence. Now the next one is two equivalence.
Yeah, yeah, Raj, I'm getting emotional,
Two
man.
equivalence.
Should be positive. Let's smell some
Now
butter.
in order to check
It's
for
time
two
to.
equivalence, you have to.
Now I'll go to Allah and first I'll change my trousers, because a true Muslim should wear clean clothes, as clean as diamond, as clean as a beautiful, clean, crystal clear flowing river, because these clothes are not. यार, ऐसा बाप नहीं देना किसी को. So guys, चलो आ जाओ। चलो करो। गाइस इस वक्त मुझे बेस्ट कुरान पढ़ना ही लग रहा है। मैं कुरान पढ़ूंगा क्योंकि मेरा मूड बहुत बहुत अजीब सा